after midnight. I should probably name it something better than random rant. Regardless, I mean, it is sort of a random rant because I'm gonna just go through some random Wikipedia article and rant about it and just go from there. So today's random article is Ed Montgomery, who is a musician and a motivational speaker and pianist and a founder and pastor of some organization. Yeah, it's I'm not a big fan of religion, so not a big fan of gospel music per se. Funny enough, I mean, I grew up listening to so many God music, or I mean, the Hindu God music. That's my foster cat. I think she is just craving for my attention. Now that I petted her, I think she'll be quiet for maybe a few minutes, or maybe not. Uh, kind of curious about the origins of gospel music. The creation, performance, significance, and even the definition of gospel music varies according to culture and social context. Okay. History. According to Yale University music professor Willie Ruff, the singing of psalms in Scottish Gaelic by Presbyterians of the Scottish Hebrides evolved from lining out, where one person sang a solo and others followed, into the call and response of gospel music of the American South. Another theory notes foundations in the work of Dr. Isaac Watts. What I about to say Newton? Newton would have killed himself if you'd learned that I'm including him in a gospel music. I don't know if Newton was religious or not. Probably a lot of people at the time were, and also the definition of religion at the time was probably different too. Either way, Dr. Isaac Watts and others. Moreover, the genre arose during a time when literacy was not a guarantee, utilizing a great deal of repetition, which, unlike more traditional hums, allowed those who could not read the opportunity to participate. Mm. There are like different types of, different periods of um, his gospel music, I guess. So let's see. Perhaps the most famous gospel based hymns were composed in the 1760s and 1770s by English writers John Newton. So we have a Newton in house, which is Amazing Grace. Oh, this, yeah, wasn't this the same song which Barack Obama uh, sang in the church? I would I would assume so. I mean, I can't see what that uh, lines are, but I think so. And Augustus Toplady, members of the Anglican Church, starting out as lyrics only. It took decades for standardized tunes to be added to them. Although not directly connected with African American gospel music, they were adopted by African Americans as well as white Americans. And Newton's connection with the Appalachian movement uh, provided cross fertilization. So I guess in the 19th century, maybe like the theme changed or what happened. Let's find out. The first published use of the term gospel music probably appeared in 1874 when Philip Bliss released a songbook entitled Gospel Songs, a choice collection of hymns and tunes. It was used to describe a new style of church music, songs that were easy to grasp and more easily singable than the traditional church hymns, which came out of mass revival movements starting with Dwight L. Moody, whose musician was Ira D. Sankey, as well as the Holiness Pentecostal movement. Alright, whatever. The popularity of the revival singers and the openness of rural church to this type of music led to the late 19th and early 20th century establishment of gospel music publishing houses such as those of Homer Rodeheaver, EOXL, Charlie Tillman, and Charles Tindley. These publishers were in the market for large quantities of new music, provided an outlet for the creative work of many songwriters and composers. Writing music for God. Uh, I can see that. Like a lot of people definitely wrote music on God, uh, and not maybe like gospel sense. Maybe more like just to kind of like thank God for whatever they achieved in their life or whatever. Uh, so emergence of black gospel from 1920s to 70s. The Pentecostal movement quickly made inroads with churches not attuned to the Europeanized black church music that had become popular over years since emancipation. These congregations readily adopted and contributed to the gospel music publications of the early 20th century. Sister Rosetta Tharpe, pioneer of rock and roll, soon emerged from this tradition as the first great gospel recording artist, the first person to introduce ragtime to gospel, and the first to play piano on a gospel recording was Arizona Trains. The 1930s saw the rise of black gospel quarters such as Five Blind Boys of Mississippi and the Five Blind Boys of Alabama. Were they really blind, or was that like, you Christianity will make you see things kind of, blind? I don't know. That's gonna remain a mystery for today. Then there are subgenre black gospel with traditional urban contemporary British Southern gospel music, then Christian country music. Comparison to other hymnody. What is hymnody? Some proponents of standard hymns generally dislike gospel music of the late 19th and 20th centuries. For example, Patrick and Sidnor complained that commercial success led to a proliferation of such music and deterioration, even in a standard which, to begin with, was not high, resulted. They went on to say, there is no doubt that deterioration in taste follows the use of the type of hum and tune. Just crying over like some sort of standards or traditions, I bet. Soul music. Soul music is a popular music genre that originated in the African American community throughout the US in the 1950s and early 60s. It combines elements of African American gospel music, rhythm and blues, and jazz. Soul music became popular for dancing and listening in US, where record labels such as ooh, look at who chose to expand her territory. Can you guys see her? Of course, you guys could. How can I help you? Hello, Sprinkles. That's her name. She's Sprinkles. Isn't this more entertaining? I bet. Right? Isn't this entertaining? Hmm? Isn't this. Yo, Sprinkle. Sprinkles. 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 Okay. I don't think she wanna sit on my lap, but let's try it. You wanna sit on my lap? No. I knew it. I knew it. Yeah, I'll just let her be. So, coming back to soul music. According to the Rock and Roll Fame Hall of Fame, soul is music that arose out of the black experience in America through the transmutation of gospel and rhythm and blues into a form of funky, secular testifying. Catchy rhythms, stressed by hand claps and extemporary body moves, are an important feature of soul music. Other characteristics are a call and response uh, between the lead vocalist and the chorus, and an especially tense vocal sound. The style also occasionally uses improvisational additions, twirls, and auxiliary sounds. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Nope, you're not allowed on the desk. Nope. Okay. So soul music dominated the US R&B chart in the 1960s, and many recordings crossed over into the pop charts in US, Britain, and elsewhere. By 1968, the soul music genre has begun to splinter. Some soul artists developed funk music, while other singers and groups developed slicker, more sophisticated, and in some cases, more politically conscious varieties. By the early 1970s, soul music had been influenced by psychedelic and progressive rock among the genre, leading to psychedelic and progressive soul. The United States saw the development of neo soul around 94. These are also several other subgenres and offshoot of soul music. That is interesting. I wouldn't have anticipated that psychedelic music. Oh well, it's influenced by soul. Okay, that I can buy it. I thought like psychedelic music emerged out of soul. That would have been a bit kind of uh, difficult to difficult to digest. Um, I do love psychedelic music, but what is this? Psychedelic soul, and this would be psychedelic rock. Ah, progressive rock. I wanna visit all of these four categories. So let's see. Psychedelic rock is a rock music that is inspired, influenced, or representative of psychedelic culture, which is centered on perception altering hallucinogenic drugs. The music is intended to replicate and enhance the mind altering experiences of psychedelic drugs, most notably LSD. Whereas progressive rock is a broad genre of rock music that develops in the United Kingdom and United States throughout the mid to late 1960s, peaking in the early 1970s. Initially termed progressive pop, the style was an outgrowth of psychedelic bands who abandoned standard pop traditions. Then, what is psychedelic soul? So, Psychedelic soul is a music genre that emerged in the late 1960s and saw black soul musicians embrace elements of psychedelic rock, including its production techniques, instrumentation, effects, units, and drug influences. It came to prominence in the late 60s and continued into the 70s. And whereas progressive soul is a type of African American music that utilizes a progressive approach, particularly in the context of the soul and funk genre. It developed in the late 1960s and early 1970s through the recordings of innovative black musicians who pushed the structural and stylistic boundaries. Whereas neo soul is a genre of popular music as a term, it was coined by music industry entrepreneur Kedar Mussenberg during the late 1990s to market and describe a style of music that emerged from soul and contemporary R&B. Yeah, I'm not well educated in different genres of music. I mean, I listen to some of the music, especially psychedelic rock, EDMs, and a few others here, a few other music here and there. But overall, I'm not like into the scene of music. I come to think of it, I'm not into any scene. But I'm very much aligned with psychedelic rock. I love a lot of artists in this genre. I'm not sure if they're gonna list out some of the most influenced artists. Yeah, see a list of psychedelic rock artists. But why is psychedelic rock called a psychedelic rock? Psychedelic rock is rock music that is inspired, influenced, or representative of psychedelic culture, which is centered on perception altering hallucinogenic drugs. I believe I read uh, some of those lines. Uh, Many psychedelic groups differ in style, and label is often applied seriously. Originating in the mid 60s among British and American musicians, the sound of psychedelic rock invokes three core effects of LSD: depersonalization, dechronicization, and dynamization, all of which detach the user from reality. Musically, the effects may be represented via novelty studio tricks, electronic or non Western instrumentation, disjunctive song structure, and extended instrumental segments. Some of the early 1960s psychedelic rock musicians were based in folk, jazz, and the blues, while others showcased an explicit Indian classical influence called raga rock. In the 1960s, these existed two main variants of the genre: the more whimsical, surrealist British psychedelia and the harder American West Coast acid rock. While acid rock is sometimes deployed interchangeably with the term psychedelic rock, it also refers more specifically to the heavier, harder, and more extreme ends of the genre. Raga rock is rock or pop music with a profound Indian influence, either in its construction, its timbre, or its use of Indian musical instruments such as the sitar and tabla. In addition, rock music from 1960s and 70s that incorporates South Asian musical influences. Definition: As a musical style, psychedelic rock attempts to replicate the effect of and enhance the mind altering experiences of hallucinogenic drugs. Important incorporating new electric sound effect and recording effects, extended solos, and improvisation. Common features include electric guitars, often used with feedback, wah wah, and fuzzbox effects units. What's wah wah? Wah wah is an imitative word for the sound of altering the resonance of musical notes to extend expressiveness, sounding much like a human voice saying the syllable wah. The wah wah effect is a spectral glide, a modification of the vowel quality of etc. And then there is elaborate studio effects, which is principally used in British psychedelia, such as backward tapes, panning, phasing, log delay loops, and extreme reverb. Backward tapes must be like, just playing it backward, I guess, the recording technique in which a sound or message is recorded backward onto a track that is meant to be played forward. Okay. Backmasking is a deliberate process, whereas a message found through phonetic revival may be unintentional. And panning is the distribution of an audio signal into a new stereo or multi-channel sound field determined by a pan control setting. A typical physical recording console has a pan control for each incoming source channel. A pan control or pan pot is an analog control with a position indicator, whereas a phaser is an electronic sound processor used to filter a signal by creating a series of peaks and throats in the frequency spectrum. The position of the peaks and throats of the waveform being affected is typically modulated by an internal low frequency oscillator so that they vary over time. Just a phase delay. And delay loops in electroacoustic, pop, rock, and other kinds of music. A loop is a repeating section of sound material. Short sections of material can be repeated to create ostinato patterns. Ostinato patterns. Longer sections can also be repeated. For example, a player might loop what they play on an entire verse of a song. Okay. Okay. And extreme reverb. Ooh, shouldn't have clicked that. Well, now I clicked it. Should I go back? No. All right, we'll continue from here. Reverberation in acoustics is a persistence of sound or echo after a sound is produced. Reverberation is created when a sound or signal is reflected, causing numerous reflections to build up and then decay as the sound is absorbed by the surfaces of objects in the space, which could include furniture, people, and air. This is most noticeable when the sound source stops, but the reflectors continue, the amplitude decreasing until zero is reached. Yeah, reverberation is plenty of times confused with echo. I believe the difference between echo and reverberation is the distance and also the space. So let's see. Reverberation is frequency dependent. The length of the decay or reverberation time receives special consideration in the architectural design of spaces which need to have specific reverberation times to achieve optimum performance for their intended activity. A comparison to a distinct echo. A comparison to a distinct echo that is detectable at a minimum of 50 to 100 milliseconds after the previous sound. Reverberation is the occurrence uh, of reflections that arrive in a sequence of less than approximately 50 milliseconds. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, okay, okay. Are you camera shy? Sprinkles? Yo, Sprinkles, are you camera shy? Are you camera shy? Let's see. Are you? Okay. Okay. What? Yeah, she wanna do her own thing. But I think should stop for today. It's already 26 minutes. It's 26 minutes more than I anticipated I'll be doing this. So I guess it's already a small win for me. But honestly, I'm trying to figure out a format because I want to do this every single day, and I love doing this. The best part is that I'm just exploring random articles and random concepts which I probably never would have touched. I'm sure I came across reverberation in the past, and I would have searched for it maybe in the future as well. But other concepts like gospel music, for example, I have no interest in that, and there's very slim chance that I would ever um, check out like what's the history of it, and how there are different genres and how it sort of influenced other music, which is one of the culturally prominent music in today's timeline. And but at the end of the day, I believe like music comes down to how I mean, obviously, it's come down to how one feel when they listen to a particular music, because everyone can have different connection with different type of music, for sure. And on top of that, the concept of music is pretty satisfying. uh, I feel that music is like a repetition of different, notes or different patterns to generalize it, and that repeating patterns is satisfying for our brain because I feel that we, as in humans, and I would also include other beings in general, we all love patterns. Our brain loves patterns, and that's why we end up repeating a lot of the things in our life. Some of those repetitions are involuntary, meaning there's those been embedded within our subconscious for a very long time. So no matter what we do, like some of those patterns sort of become a baseline. But the good thing is we can change every single pattern. Well, I should take back that statement. I don't know if we can change every single pattern, but we can definitely focus and change any specific pattern we want to. The question is like, how many patterns do you want to change, and how much time, attention, energy you can focus on any one particular pattern to change it. I don't know what did she. Okay, she just probably she just got scared, and yeah, I gotta figure out how to train her better. I mean, this is like the second time I'm leaving her by. None. I'm not even like leaving her by herself per se, but I'm like letting her out. So I'm letting her explore the entire place. I want her to feel comfortable. Yeah, and hopefully we can um, we can form that connection, that bond, and understand each other, because there's a lot of things I don't want her to do, including climbing all over my desk and scratching some of my stuff. So that's something I'll figure out, and figure out how to train her. So, and in the meantime, she's training me few other things too. Regardless, I mean, I digress from my point of brain loving patterns. Uh, but one of the there is already so much dead time. I don't want to like take more dead time, because my thoughts right now, I can focus it on one particular topic, but it's super late right now. It's 2 a.m., so I need to go to bed. So I'll see you guys, if anyone's watching, next time. And until then,